place called Vungu in the Congo, actually Belgian Congo at that time. My parents were missionaries. They were there for quite a few years, and I happened to be born while they were there. It made for an interesting childhood, for sure. Truthfully, a lot of the memories that I have are because of the images that my parents shot while they were there. So photography was an early concept.
Early on, that's what he wanted to do all of his life.
And I appreciated the fact that they kept those memories fresh for me, where I likely would not have remembered things. There I am.
He's about 3 weeks old at that time.
Some of the houses on the station that we lived in were mud block houses that you pressed in a brick mold, and then they had kilns to dry them. Even when we were in Africa, my parents were missionaries, but it just seemed the right thing to do. You know, you share information so that people can live healthier lives. And when I learned about the job at CDC, it just seemed like a good fit. An opportunity came along to replace a scientific photographer who had been here many years. And at first I thought it might limit me too much. You know, rather than being out shooting events and meeting people, I would be in our studio for the most part or visiting labs, and I felt like that might be confining in a sense. But as it turns out, it was a wonderful move. I found it very rewarding. Working with the scientists and working with the Commission Corps folks has been the greatest love of my work here at CDC. The system that I am using, there's a variety of macro lenses. So you can change the amount of light that goes through. As you adjust the distance from the lens, you're adjusting the magnification. This is a mosquito from South America. It's called Sabethes cyaneus. Very interesting mosquito. It has paddles on the legs that are involved in a mating ritual. And this is the only mosquito that has been documented to have that sort of mating ritual. Unusual for a mating ritual. Both male and females have this same type of paddle, but they dance. The part of the mating ritual is to dance and show off these paddles. This picture does not show really how brilliantly blue and cyan. You see some of the cyan on the thorax here. But these paddles, if the light hits it just right, you can see a hint of it here. But a lot of times the paddles themselves will be that same bright, iridescent blue. Really beautiful. The most interesting thing for the entomologist is how they feed, because that's how they transmit disease. And generally what I do is I wait a few seconds after it begins to feed, because while it's beginning to feed, it's still pretty wary and it may take off. But once they find that vein or capillary, they're going to stay there. They're not as likely to run away. And so you have a minute or so to get an image or a series of images. I love the Gary Larson cartoon of the mosquito that's blown up like a balloon. And some feed faster than others. worked with some wonderful pathologists over the years. It was a collaboration because I knew film and I knew the imaging technology, but of course they knew the scientific side, the pathogen, and they knew the tissue section, and they knew where to go. And a glass slide is, 1 inch wide, but there's a whole world in there. We're looking at a tick. Usually the entomologist will bring me a tick and want an image to document the pattern on the back. This one, instead of showing the pattern on the back or the underside, what I did was just wanted to show it crawling, as if it were crawling over the edge of the leaf looking at you. That's a kissing bug with its eggs. And they're called kissing bugs because of their preference for the soft tissue of the lips. So they come out of the woodwork, so to speak, and they find your warm, moist lips and give you a kiss you don't want. And unfortunately, they can transmit Chagas disease, for instance, and so they're a dangerous vector. Truthfully, I don't consider myself an artist at all. My work over the years has been documentary. Mycotic organisms scare me as much as anything, because if you lift the lid on a petri dish, just the motion of lifting the lid can draw the spores into the air, and then they float until you breathe them. I generally wear a mask and try to move very slowly when I lift the lid off. I don't just pull it off. That creates a vacuum, and behind that comes all the spores. So you just gently lift the lid slightly and turn it. The last person to die of smallpox was a scientific photographer. I asked to be vaccinated so that I could feel safer working with people in the pox area. But it occurred to me when I was vaccinated that it was a good opportunity to shoot the lesion over a series of days and to get a documentation of the progression. Since I was shooting it myself, it introduced a bit of a challenge. Mother Nature holds a lot of beauty. Even though some of the organisms that I'm shooting are dangerous or cause a lot of pain or disease, they can be beautiful in themselves. So if the art is there in nature, then I try to convey that.